This is our past, gentlemen. This is where we have been. This is how we got here. This is who we are today.
You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, one half a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
It's not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship to yourself and your family and your friends.
They're strong, fast, and undefeated. So far. But I want you to remember where God has brought us. I want you to remember how hard you've worked. We weren't supposed to have a winning season, but we do. We weren't supposed to advance through the playoffs, but we did. We're not supposed to be here, but we are. So if there's anything in you that says this is a losing effort, throw it out. Because as I stand here, I believe that as long as we honor God, nothing is impossible.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. This is a special new broadcast from Diggin, Deeper Ministries. While we are a Christian ministry, we are also sports fans who enjoy the competition of many leagues, including the National Football League. We will never forget our roots as a Christian ministry, but that does not mean we cannot explore other interests as well. God never said to avoid other interests. He is clear, however, that these interests must never take priority over Him. With that in mind, I am your host, Brian Parsons. For Diggin, Deeper into the NFL. On today's program, we'll go diggin' deeper into Week 4 of the National Football League schedule, which kicked off Thursday, September 25th, with the Seattle Seahawks traveling to the desert to take on the Arizona Cardinals in State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. In short, the Seattle Seahawks edged the Arizona Cardinals 23-20 on the road in a dramatic finish as kicker Jason Myers drills a 52-yard game winner as time expired. Seattle jumped out to a 14-3 lead at halftime, thanks to efficient execution and an early big play in the run game. Quarterback Sam Darnold completed 18 of 26 passes for 242 yards and a touchdown, with 0 interceptions. The Seahawks outgained Arizona 384 to 253 total yards, and averaged 6.0 yards per play, compared to 4.0 for the Cardinals. Seattle's rushing attack also produced 155 yards, helping them control the game tempo. One of the key early plays saw Darnold hit rookie tight end A.J. Barner for a 16-yard touchdown, opening the scoring. Arizona began to claw back in the second half. Kyler Murray threw for 2 touchdowns, but also tossed 2 interceptions, and was sacked 6 times for 36 yards lost. By the end of the third quarter, the score stood 17-6 in favor of Seattle. The Cardinals were showing signs of life, but the deficit remained. Arizona stormed back with 14 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. A 16-yard touchdown pass to Marvin Harrison Jr., followed by a 7-yard strike to Amari DeMercado with 28 seconds remaining. That tied the game at 20-20. But Seattle's special teams sealed the deal after the Cardinals' tying score. Arizona's short kickoff gave the Seahawks the ball at their own 40-yard line under the league's updated kickoff rules. Seattle capitalized, and Myers drilled a 52-yard field goal as time expired. Inside the numbers, Seattle converted on 6.0 yards per play, amassed 384 total yards, and held the ball for 32 minutes and 24 seconds, versus Arizona's 27 minutes and 36 seconds. Despite Arizona's late surge, Seattle maintained composure and got the big kick when it mattered. Unfortunately for the Cardinals, they made too many mistakes, including throwing 2 interceptions, allowing 6 sacks, and special teams miscue in the final seconds all tilted the balance. Murray's 27 completions on 41 pass attempts for 200 yards, 2 TDs, and 2 INTs underline the mixed performance. For Seattle, they improved to 3-1. This divisional win boosts morale and keeps them in contention in the NFC West. For Arizona, they fall to 2-2. The comeback attempt shows resilience, but the inability to finish and errors in critical moments remain concerns. Let's fast forward to Sunday's game played on September 28th, with an international series matchup in Dublin, Ireland. between the Minnesota Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are the home team for this game. In front of a raucous crowd of over 74,000 at Croke Park, the Pittsburgh Steelers edged the Minnesota Vikings 24-21 in what became a historic and gripping contest. The event marked the NFL's first regular season game on Irish soil and carried extra weight for both teams, but especially for the Steelers, who found a way to win their way and seal the moment. Minnesota struck first with a 41-yard field goal by Will Reichard, giving the Vikings an early 3-0 advantage. The Steelers answered in the closing moments of the first quarter when Kenneth Gainwell punched it in from 1 yard out, putting Pittsburgh up 7-3. In the second quarter, Pittsburgh struck big. Veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers connected with DK Metcalf on an 80-yard touchdown pass, sending the crowd into a frenzy and giving the Steelers a 14-3 lead. Minnesota managed a field goal before halftime, 28 yards, trimming the margin to 14-6. The third quarter saw Gainwell again find the end zone on a 4-yard run, stretching Pittsburgh's advantage to 21-6, with time slipping away from the Vikings. With the fourth quarter underway, the Vikings mounted a late surge comeback. Quarterback Carson Wentz hit Xavier Scott on a 16-yard touchdown pass, followed by a successful 2-point conversion to pull within 24-14 with 7:50 remaining. Later, with 2 minutes and 08 seconds left, Minnesota scored again when Wentz connected with Jalen Nailor for a 2-yard touchdown, making it 24-21. But the Vikings' final drive stalled, and Pittsburgh held on. While the game was close on the scoreboard, but for much of the contest, the Vikings never truly had full control or a clear opportunity to win. Pittsburgh jumped out to a 14-3 lead with an 80-yard Rodgers to Metcalf touchdown and a short Gainwell run. That forced Minnesota into playing catch-up for most of the game. Carson Wentz was sacked 6 times and threw 2 interceptions. Even when the Vikings moved the ball effectively between the 20-yard lines, turnovers and lost yards prevented them from converting drives into points. Minnesota had stretches of sustained possession and had control of the game in terms of possession, 33 minutes and 34 seconds to 26 minutes and 26 seconds for Pittsburgh, and outgained the Steelers in total yards, 372 to 313. But these advantages didn't translate into points. When the game swung late, Pittsburgh's defense made critical plays, like the chase-down tackle by Peyton Wilson, to stop what could have been the game-tying drive. The Vikings scored twice in the final 7 minutes to close the gap to 24-21, showing they had the capability to compete. However, the time remaining was limited, and they had to drive against a Steelers defense primed for the final push. While there was somewhat of a surge, it was much too late, and never truly felt like a real threat to the Steelers. The Vikings looked dangerous late, and came close to taking the lead. They never fully controlled the game, and critical mistakes earlier left them with too much to do. The score was close, but the opportunity to win was fleeting until the final minutes. And even then, Pittsburgh's defense kept them from capitalizing. The quarterback play was good. Carson Wentz completed 30 passes on 46 attempts for 350 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but was sacked 6 times for 48 yards. Aaron Rodgers went 18 for 22 with 200 yards and a touchdown, and was sacked twice for 18 yards. Though Minnesota lost, their late rally shows they can fight. The challenge is starting better and avoiding self-inflicted damage. The Washington Commanders traveled to Atlanta to play the Atlanta Falcons in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is a game big in a pivotal NFC matchup. The Falcons defeated the Commanders 34-27, handing Washington their second loss of the season, while Atlanta improved to 2-2. A clash that began with opportunity for both teams ultimately tipped when Atlanta capitalized on explosive plays, while Washington's defense once again failed to finish drives or make decisive stops. Atlanta grabbed the early momentum with a 38-yard field goal by Parker Romo. Then cornerback Michael Penix Jr. connected with wide receiver Drake London on a short touchdown pass, making it 10-0 by the end of the first quarter. Washington answered in the second quarter via a 5-yard touchdown pass from Marcus Mariota to wide receiver Luke McCaffrey, closing the gap to 10-7. Yet Atlanta struck back late in the half when Penix dropped a 43-yard pass to London, setting up a 14-yard touchdown from running back Bijan Robinson, and reasserting a 17-7 lead. In the third quarter, the Falcons extended it further with another touchdown, pushing the margin to 24-13. Washington fought back in the fourth quarter with Mariota hitting wide receiver Deebo Samuel Sr. for a 24-yard score on fourth down and a successful 2-point conversion, pulling within 31-24. But Atlanta responded with a methodical drive, converting key third downs, culminating in a 26-yard Romo field goal to make it 34-24. Washington's late field goal cut it to 34-27, but an onside kick recovery by the Falcons sealed the game. Looking into the numbers, the Falcons possessed the ball 34 minutes and 15 seconds, as the Commanders possessed the ball 25 minutes and 45 seconds. The Falcons heavily outgained the Commanders, 435-294, and the same was true for the quarterbacks. Michael Penix Jr. completed 20 of 26 passes for 313 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, and Marcus Mariota completed 16 of 27 passes for 156 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and ran for 20 yards. Bijan Robinson rushed for 75 yards and a touchdown, and grabbed 4 receptions for 106 receiving yards. Commanders' leading rusher was Chris Rodriguez Jr. for 59 yards. This game did excel in explosive plays, including Penix's long connections, plus Robinson's dual-threat production, rushing and receiving, gave them chunks of yardage throughout. Atlanta dominated time of possession and yardage, which translated to sustained drives and scoreboard pressure, and the Falcons converted critical third downs, especially in the fourth quarter, to put the game away. For the Commanders, Mariota and receivers found success despite injuries. They scored multiple times and held their own. Their special teams also showed up. Kickoff return yards were strong, and kicker Matt Gay was perfect on his field goal attempts. However, the defense repeatedly missed tackles and allowed major plays, specifically against Robinson, who broke multiple runs and receptions. They settled for too many field goals or stalled drives instead of turning possessions into touchdowns. The game was competitive in that Washington stayed within 1 score in the fourth quarter and showed fight, but the swing came when Atlanta pulled away in the second and third quarters and prevented the Commanders from gaining traction. Atlanta's dominant yardage, 435 total, and longer possession, 34 minutes and 15 seconds to Washington's 25 minutes and 45 seconds, set the tone. Washington's missed stops and discipline issues, especially on defense, prevented them from seizing the momentum when close. The Falcons used their lead to manage the clock and convert when Washington threatened. The game taught us that defense matters. Even a capable offense can't win if the defense cannot stop big plays or tackle. Washington's defense allowed too many explosive gains. Atlanta's chunk plays forced Washington into reactive mode. Washington may have fewer yards, but the key is turning drives into touchdowns and stops. They failed in that regard. Atlanta converted when the game was on the line. Washington faltered in the same moments. Washington was hampered by missing key players, including Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and built on a foundation that showed cracks. Unfortunately, Daniels being out did hinder Washington's abilities to move the ball, and McLaurin's absence was felt as well. But a Penix against Daniels showdown would have been a real contrast in styles, precision and timing versus improvisation and athleticism. It would also test the Falcons' defense against a mobile quarterback and the Commanders' offense against a high-volume passing attack. Basically, an aerial chess match versus a ground-and-gain, play-extending battle. The New Orleans Saints traveled to Buffalo to play the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park, in a matchup that promised a rebound for the Saints, but instead underscored their early season struggles. The Buffalo Bills handled business at home, defeating New Orleans 31-19. The game had wrinkles and moments of fight, but ultimately the Bills' balance, big plays, and timely execution proved decisive. The Saints remain winless at 0-4. While Buffalo improved to 4-0 and further established themselves as a contender. Buffalo wasted little time showing their intent. On their first drive, quarterback Josh Allen connected with wide receiver Khalil Shakir on a 43-yard touchdown pass, putting the Bills ahead 7-0. New Orleans answered swiftly as running back Keandre Miller broke free for an 18-yard touchdown run, leveling the score at 7-7. Soon thereafter, James Cook punched in a 1-yard touchdown for Buffalo, making it 14-7 before the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Saints trimmed the gap when kicker Blake Group drilled a 54-yard field goal, making it 14-10 at halftime. The third quarter saw Allen rumble in a 5-yard rushing touchdown, increasing the Bills' lead to 21-10. The Saints fought back with Rattler's 3-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Chris Olave, pulling to 21-16. However, Buffalo answered again when Allen followed with a 28-yard touchdown pass to tight end Dalton Kincaid midway through the fourth quarter to push the lead to 28-19. A late 35-yard field goal by kicker Matt Prater sealed the 31-19 win. Let's go Diggin. Deeper into the numbers, Josh Allen went 16 for 22 for 209 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Spencer Rattler went 18 FPR 27 for 126 yards and a touchdown. The Saints rushed for 189 yards. Keandre Miller led the charge with a combination of power runs and explosive bursts, while backup backs contributed effectively to keep the Bills' defensive front honest. Despite the yardage, the rushing attack didn't fully translate into points. The Saints often stalled in the red zone, turning promising drives into field goals or missed opportunities. Still, the ground game kept the team competitive for stretches, controlled the clock at key moments, and demonstrated that New Orleans can impose a physical presence when they commit to running the ball. For Buffalo, James Cook ran for 117 yards and a touchdown. He helped balance the offense, keeping the Saints' defense honest and opening up opportunities for Josh Allen in the passing game. That kind of performance in a pivotal Week 4 divisional matchup was a key factor in Buffalo maintaining control and converting critical drives into points. The game shifted when New Orleans repeatedly squandered red zone opportunities. Despite penetrating Buffalo's territory multiple times, they came away with field goals or a turnover, missing chances to seize momentum. Meanwhile, when the Bills needed answers, they got them. Big play TDs and consistent offense. That difference proved the margin. Even when not flawless, the Bills got the job done. The Saints remained stuck in the nearly there phase. While the Saints showed fight, their pattern of falling behind early has now extended. Buffalo, conversely, continues to build a foundation of winning when challenged. The Cleveland Browns traveled to Detroit, Michigan, to play the Detroit Lions at Ford Field. In a game that opened promisingly for the Browns, yet ended in a sharp derailment, the Detroit Lions beat Cleveland 34-10, improving to 3-1, while the Browns fell to 1-3. What began with momentum for Cleveland quickly swung in Detroit's favor, as the Lions capitalized on turnovers, big plays, and special teams fireworks. Cleveland got off to a strong start, driving 88 yards on their first possession. Veteran quarterback Joe Flacco went 5 of 5 for 70 yards, including a 33-yard strike to Jerry Jeudy, culminating in a 1-yard touchdown run by rookie running back Quinshon Judkins to take a 7-0 lead. However, Detroit responded with consistency. In the first half, they intercepted Flacco twice, turning those into points. Detroit tied the game on a Jahmyr Gibbs 8-yard touchdown, and the barrage of points continued, including a 48-yard field goal by Jake Bates, before the half that expanded Detroit's lead, 20-7, going into the break. The second half saw Cleveland muster only a 33-yard field goal by Andres Schuzmet in the third quarter, making it 20-10. But Detroit put it away in the fourth, when wide receiver and punt returner Khalif Raymond returned a punt 65 yards for a touchdown, and linebacker Aiden Hutchinson forced a fumble that set up another score, sealing the 34-10 margin. Diggin. Deeper into the quarterbacks, Joe Flacco completed 16 of 34 passes for 184 yards, but he threw 2 interceptions and Sans 3 times. Jared Goff completed 16 of 27 passes for 168 yards, throwing 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Despite modest yardage, he converted when needed. The Lions turned mistakes into points. The 3 giveaways by Cleveland turned into a decisive advantage. Their special teams also delivered when it mattered. They held a previously strong Browns run game in check and disrupted Flacco repeatedly. For the Browns, they executed their first drive well, showing rhythm early. But everything after that promising start was downhill. The offense stalled, turnovers were costly, and the special teams breakdown proved damaging. The run game never regained momentum. To sum up the game, Cleveland's early success evaporated once Detroit seized control. Possession time and early drives don't safeguard victory if you don't finish. Flacco, despite experience, made critical mistakes which highlight that preparation and modern pace matter. The Tennessee Titans head out west to play the Houston Texans in a divisional showdown between the former Houston team and the current Houston team. In a divisional showdown that the Titans desperately needed to win, Houston's defense and opportunistic offense combined to deliver a comprehensive 26-0 shutout of Tennessee. The Texans' first victory of the season and their first shutout since 2010. For the Texans, their defense dominated, holding the Titans to minimal yardage, no red zone trips, and forcing turnovers that led to scores. Offensively, the Texans were efficient when it mattered. Clean passing by Stroud, rookie playmakers delivering, and capitalizing on short fields. They finally found their stride after a rough start to the season, boosting morale and setting a positive tone heading forward. Unfortunately, there is little good to say about the Titans. The defeat illustrated glaring issues, as the offense could not move the ball consistently, failed to convert in the red zone, and the rookie quarterback looked overwhelmed at times. Tennessee's Joey Sly missed 2 field goals in the first half, further undermining momentum. Though earlier weeks had offered glimpses of competitiveness, this game exposed how far behind the team is in all phases. Possession and yardage mean little if you don't convert. The Titans may have had opportunities, but they lacked productivity. Cam Ward was part of this. He went 10 of 26 for 108 yards with an interception. He struggled with pocket awareness and decision-making against a disciplined Texans defense. It showed that while he has the physical tools, he still needs experience and poise in NFL-level games. Being blanked and seeing drives stall repeatedly can impact a young quarterback's confidence. Ward admitted after the game that the team assisted the Texans too much, signaling that he recognizes his role in the collapse. Opportunity for growth, and this game is a teaching moment. Ward now has film showing exactly how an NFL defense can expose a rookie QB. How he and the Titans respond in the next weeks will shape his trajectory and the team's offensive development. In short, this loss didn't just count as one in the standings. It highlighted that Ward is still a work in progress, both in terms of execution and handling adversity, while also giving him a clear roadmap for improvement. C.J. Stroud finished 22 of 28 for 233 yards and 2 touchdowns, showing efficiency, poise, and the ability to take advantage of short fields. For a young quarterback, a clean, mistake-free performance in a shutout is invaluable. Stroud avoided turnovers and managed the game well, especially in a divisional game. His composure in the red zone and on critical third downs demonstrated growth and maturity beyond his rookie season. A win like this allows Stroud to establish himself as a leader of the offense. The team trusted him to finish drives, and he delivered under pressure, which reinforces his role as the centerpiece of Houston's offense moving forward. For the Texans, this victory could represent a turning point in the season. For the Titans, it marks one of their lowest points, an 0-4 start, a shutout at home, and serious questions about direction. This loss was a harsh reality check for Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans' young cornerback room. A shutout, particularly at home, magnifies every mistake, and for a rookie or second-year QB like Ward, it can feel especially punishing. The Carolina Panthers traveled to Massachusetts to play in Foxborough in a Sunday evening game against the New England Patriots. In a lopsided Sunday afternoon showdown, the Patriots routed the Panthers 42-13, delivering a statement victory as much for momentum as for scoreboard. What started as a promising nod for Carolina quickly turned into a showcase of New England's cohesion and dominance. Carolina came out strong with an opening drive touchdown, a 7-play, 76-yard march capped by a 7-yard pass from Bryce Young to Tommy Tremble, though the extra point was missed, leaving the Panthers up 6-0. That lead would be short-lived. On the next possession, the Patriots' special teams turned the tide. Marcus Jones fielded a punt at his own 13 and raced 87 yards for a touchdown, giving New England a 7-6 advantage and igniting a run of scoring, structure, and dominance. By halftime, the Patriots led 28-6 after scoring touchdowns on 4 of their first 5 offensive possessions, mixing the run and pass under young star quarterback Drake May, who completed 14 of 17, passed for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns, and benefiting from explosive special teams play and stifling defense. Carolina's Bryce Young finished 18 of 30 for 150 yards and 1 touchdown before being replaced. The second half maintained the theme. The Panthers' offense largely stagnated. 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter by backup Andy Dalton after Carolina's starters had been pulled, while the Patriots continued to put drives together, scoring again in the third and early fourth to push the lead to 42-6. The final margin, 42-13. The Patriots outscored Carolina 42-7 after the first quarter, asserting control early and never relinquishing it. On special teams, Marcus Jones logged 167 punt return yards, franchise record, including the 87-yard score. After allowing the opening drive touchdown, the Patriots held Carolina to just 130 yards from there until late in the game, and the Panthers converted only 5 of 14 third downs. The Patriots excelled in all 3 phases. Offense, defense, and special teams each contributed significantly. The offense was efficient and consistent. Third and long conversions worked, and chunk plays kept the Panthers off balance. After early hiccups, the defense locked in, limited big plays, and turned Carolina's rhythm into frustration. The Panthers started well with the opening drive, showing they could move the ball. However, their offense collapsed. After the first drive, they failed to sustain momentum, settle into rhythm, or create scoring threats. Their special teams were disastrous, including poor coverage, the missed extra point, allowing a historic return, all magnified in a blowout. Defensively, they couldn't stop the chunk plays, couldn't adjust, and gave up too many unanswered points. For New England, this was a mark of progress under coach Mike Vrabel. For Carolina, it raised flags about consistency and competitiveness. The Los Angeles Chargers traveled to East Rutherford, New Jersey, to take on the New York Giants. This game was entertaining. In a dramatic turn on Sunday, the Chargers, previously unbeaten at 3-0, suffered a narrow 21-18 road loss to the struggling Giants, who snapped their 0-3 start with a hard-earned victory. It was a game of momentum swings, rookie heroics, and missed opportunities. The Giants wasted no time setting the tone. On their very first drive, rookie quarterback Jackson Dart capped an 89-yard march with a 15-yard touchdown rush, giving New York a 7-0 lead. This was Dart's first career start, and this drive was indeed a confidence setter. In the second quarter, the Giants added a field goal, and the Chargers responded with one of their own. Just before halftime, the Giants extended the lead to 13-10 with another field goal. Meanwhile, the Chargers' offense showed signs of life when Justin Herbert connected with Quentin Johnston for a 36-yard touchdown to cut the margin to 13-10 going into the half. The third quarter proved pivotal. Dart threw his first career touchdown pass, a 3-yard strike to Theo Johnson, and the Giants converted a 2-point run by Cam Skatebow, pulling ahead 21-10. The Chargers responded with a 54-yard touchdown run by Omarion Hampton, followed by Herbert jogging in for the 2-point conversion to make it 21-18. In the fourth quarter, the Chargers had opportunities to complete the comeback, but the Giants' defense held firm. Time drained away, and the Chargers couldn't execute the final drives, handing New York their first win of the season. Dart completed 13 of 20 passes for 111 yards and 1 TD, plus 10 carries for 54 yards and 1 rushing TD, as Justin Herbert completed 23 of 41 passes for 203 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions, his first multiple interception game of the season. Chargers' rushing attack showed up as Hampton ran for 128 yards and a touchdown. The Chargers piled up 338 total yards as the Giants reached 250 yards. The Giants excelled in generating big plays early. Opening drive TD set a tone and their defense made critical plays. Interceptions inside the Chargers. Red zone created point opportunities. The young quarterback stepped up in his first start, providing both arm and legs. While the team won, the offense was still limited in yardage, and an injury to star wide receiver Malik Neighbors, torn ACL, clouds the future. The Chargers began hot in the season, but this game exposed vulnerabilities. Turnovers, 2 interceptions, lack of early scoring, 0 in first quarter. The Chargers' offense failed to convert late drives. Penalty and protection issues also surfaced, and left tackle Joe Alt left with injury. The momentum swung when the Giants took early control and converted their chances. The Chargers seemed erratic early. They were shut out in the first quarter. The Giants' ability to convert turnovers into points, 11 points off turnovers, gave them the edge. The Chargers rallied with Hampton's big run and Herbert's 2-point try, but in the end the Giants controlled the final possession, draining the clock and denying another chance to Los Angeles. While it's still early in the season, just the 4th week, so maybe it's premature to call any team a heavyweight, but the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has that feel. The two squared off in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. In a highly anticipated clash between two unbeaten teams, the Eagles held on for a 31-25 victory over the Buccaneers in front of an expectant home crowd. Tampa Bay threatened to come back late, but Philadelphia's fast start and timely defensive plays proved decisive. The Eagles struck quickly. On Tampa Bay's opening possession, the Bucs were forced into a punt, one that was blocked by Philadelphia's Cameron Lakitu, and Sidney Brown scooped the loose ball and raced 35 yards for a touchdown, putting the Eagles up 7-0 early. Philadelphia followed that up with 2 scoring drives in the first half, both capped by shovel pass touchdowns from Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert, 2 yards and 5 yards respectively, giving them a 21-3 lead midway through the game. Halftime, the Eagles led 24-6 after a field goal by their kicker Jake Elliott, and a long 65-yard field goal by Tampa's Chase McLaughlin closed the gap slightly. Tampa Bay showed life in the third quarter. Quarterback Baker Mayfield launched a 77-yard touchdown pass to rookie Ime Udoka Egbuka, and later a 72-yard touchdown pass to Bucky Irving, slicing the Eagles' lead. With the game closing, McLaughlin's second long field goal, 58 yards, brought Tampa within striking distance at 31-23, and a safety in the final quarter made the score 31-25 as time wound down. However, a key interception in the end zone by Eagles linebacker Jihad Campbell halted the Buccaneers' final chance, preserving the win for Philadelphia. Tampa Bay actually had the ball longer than Philadelphia, but not by much. 31 minutes and 52 seconds to Philadelphia's 28 minutes and 08 seconds. The Eagles succeeded in creating early momentum, especially via special teams and stout defense in the first half. They made timely offensive plays and never relinquished the lead despite the Buccaneers' rally, but the offense slowed in the second half, gaining fewer yards and relying on the margin they built early. Tampa showed explosive playmaking with 2 huge passing touchdowns, and long field goals kept them alive. They fell short in the first half due to special teams breakdowns, blocked punt, and falling behind by 21 points, and could not convert a late drive into the go-ahead score despite having momentum. Let's go digging deeper into the quarterback matchup, which featured 2 of the top quarterbacks in the game. Jalen Hurts completed 15 of 24 passes for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, with 0 interceptions. He also carried the ball 9 times for 62 rushing yards, showing his dual-threat ability. He was efficient and mistake-free. In a tight game, he didn't turn the ball over, and his team held on to win. The 2 TD passes reflect good decision-making in the red zone. While the team won, his passing yardage is modest, especially given that the total team net yards were only 200 for the day. The low passing volume suggests the offense was somewhat one-dimensional, or didn't need to push heavily thanks to early scores. But Hurts did what was required. The game plan seemed to rely less on big passing numbers and more on complementary football, rushing, defense, special teams. For a quarterback, avoiding negative plays and maintaining control is a win in this context. Baker Mayfield completed 22 of 40 passes for 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He generated big plays. The 2 long-distance touchdown passes, 77 yards and 72 yards, were explosive and kept Tampa in the game. The interception came at a critical moment in the fourth quarter, and the sacks or pressure he faced, leading to a stop drive, hurt momentum. The offense gained more yards, 376 total net yards for Tampa, but still came up short. As he has done the last several years, he showed the ability to make big plays, what young quarterbacks are often asked to do, but couldn't overcome early deficits and missed the chance to complete the comeback. His performance was strong in parts, yet ultimately fell short in execution at the decisive moment. In close games, quarterback decision-making, turnovers, and manageable yardage often matter more than just high yardage totals. The surprising, undefeated Indianapolis Colts traveled to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, to take on the Los Angeles Rams. Like several games in Week 4, this one was exciting, back and forth, and in a game defined by dramatic swings and costly mistakes, the Los Angeles Rams rallied past the Indianapolis Colts to spoil Indianapolis's undefeated start, 27-20. The Colts arrived in Los Angeles undefeated at 3-0, looking to stretch their perfect start to 4 wins, as the Rams were looking for their 3rd victory. And while questions hovered over both teams and their hot starts, there were far more doubters circling Indianapolis than Los Angeles. The Rams, with their veteran quarterback, Super Bowl pedigree, and a coach known for his offensive genius, had earned a certain benefit of the doubt. The Colts, meanwhile, were the upstarts, a team still trying to prove that their early success wasn't just the product of a soft schedule and good fortune. While we at Diggin' Deeper are fans of the once dubbed Danny Dimes, now affectionately heralded in Indiana as Indiana Jones, and head coach Shane Steichen's bold, balanced attack, we understand all the questions. Could Jones' early season efficiency hold up against a Rams defense that, though no longer anchored by the retired Aaron Donald, has reloaded with young playmakers like Jared Verse, Byron Young, and safety Kamam Curl? Could Steichen's offense stay composed under the bright lights of SoFi? Unfortunately, one team had to lose. And in the end, the Rams made the fewest mistakes when it mattered most. Let's go digging deeper into the game. The Rams came out hot. Matthew Stafford's rhythm was instant. He opened 8 for 9 passing on the first 2 drives, spreading the ball between Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, and tight end Tyler Higbee. But the Colts' defense, as it had all season, bent without breaking. On the opening possession, E.J. Speed forced a key third down incompletion on a disguised blitz, holding the Rams to a short field goal. For Indianapolis, Daniel Jones started steady but conservative. Shane Steichen leaned early on Jonathan Taylor, who picked up 31 yards on his first 5 carries, but the Rams' edge duo, Jared Verse and Byron Young, quickly adjusted, setting the edge and forcing everything inside. The Colts settled for a 46-yard Matt Gay field goal to tie things at 3-3, and the chess match began. It was 6:03 after the first quarter. In the second quarter, Indiana Jones found a spark. Jones began to find his rhythm midway through the second quarter. On a 10-play, 82-yard drive, he hit Michael Pittman Jr. 3 times, including a dart on a deep curl that set up a Tyler Warren 2-yard touchdown run. It was vintage Indiana Jones. Quick reads, calm pocket presence, and trust in his weapons. But Stafford answered like only Stafford can, including a 10-yard touchdown to Davante Adams. The half ended with the Rams up 13-10. But the stat sheet told 2 different stories, and coming out of the tunnel at halftime, the game had the feel of a late-season bout, not a Week 4 contest, with both teams feeling out each other's limits. The third quarter had no points, but the fourth finished with a bang. The Colts found the end zone with a 2-yard completion from Jones to Michael Pittman. The extra points was good, and went up 17-13. Schrader added a 38-yard field goal, extending the lead 20-13, but Matthew Stafford once again found one of his favorite targets, Puka Nacua, for a 9-yard touchdown in the end zone. The extra point was good, tying the game 20-20, with a little more than 3 minutes left in the game. While there were no points scored in the third quarter, the defining moment, and perhaps the turning point of the Colts' young season, came early in the third quarter with nearly 12 minutes left. Daniel Jones, reading a Rams blitz, checked into a fade route. Adonai Mitchell beat his coverage clean, hauled in the ball one-handed, and sprinted toward the end zone. But as Mitchell celebrated prematurely, the ball slipped free just inches before crossing the plane. The crowd gasped. Replay confirmed the worst. A fumble out of the end zone. Rams touchback. This was not a normal fumble. It was a young man wanting to make the highlight reels, so he celebrated too soon. It was the kind of mistake that swings momentum and tests a team's maturity. Mitchell's eagerness to make the highlight reel cost his team crucial points and, potentially, the game itself. Instead of potentially going up 17-13, the game remained with the Rams ahead 13-10. Moments like this are reminders that talent alone doesn't win. Composure does. Like the veteran team the Rams is, capitalized. Stafford led another crisp drive that ended on an 88-yard touchdown by Tutu Atwell. With the extra point, Rams went up 27-20. On 3rd and long, Cam Curl undercut a dig route and sealed the game with his second interception. The quarterback matchup was fun to watch. The gutsy young Indiana Jones up against the established, gritty, veteran Matthew Stafford. Statistically, the Rams had the edge in total offense, racking up 462 yards compared to the Colts' 333 yards. Indianapolis leaned on a balanced attack, with Daniel Jones completing 24 of 33 passes for 262 yards, with a touchdown and 2 interceptions, and Jonathan Taylor rushing for 76 yards on 17 carries, controlling the clock and keeping the game manageable. Los Angeles, meanwhile, lived off big plays through the air, with Stafford throwing for 375 yards and 3 touchdowns, while the running game contributed 102 yards. Turnovers proved decisive. The Colts committed 3, including the costly fumble in the third quarter, while the Rams protected the ball better, losing 1 fumble. Penalties slightly favored Los Angeles, too, as Indianapolis was flagged 11 times for 88 yards, versus the Rams' 7 penalties for 63 yards. Time of possession tilted toward Los Angeles at 31 minutes, 44 seconds, and the Rams needed the ball as long as possible to put away the pesky Colts. The Colts controlled the ball for 28 minutes and 16 seconds. For the Colts, it was a humbling reality check, a reminder that talent and promise don't yet equal polish. The pieces are there, and the coaching is sharp, but composure and discipline ultimately separated them from a statement road win. For the Rams, it was proof they're still very much a factor in the NFC. Stafford looked ageless, Nacua electric, and the young defense opportunistic. It was a heavyweight-style fight. One team growing into its future, the other reminding everyone it's not done yet. While this is probably not a matchup we'll see again later in the season, as in February, but it was fun to watch this time around. The Colts came up short, but they never laid down, and it will be intriguing to see how they respond next week. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars travel out west to Santa Clara, California to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Both of these teams have been surprising. The Jaguars arrived in San Francisco looking to extend their early season momentum. But the 49ers, home field advantage, and defensive discipline looked to prove the difference against a young and hungry Jaguar team. This was an intense, tense, back-and-forth affair. Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville offense moved the ball well at times, with Lawrence completing 21 of 31 passes for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the 49ers, defensive led by D. Winters, Marquise Single, and Fred Warner, but without Nick Bosa, who is out for the season with a torn ACL, pressure was limited. Lawrence was not sacked and committed no turnovers. The 49ers leaned on Brock Purdy, whose poise and accuracy were the story of the game. Purdy finished 22 of 38 for 309 yards, throwing 2 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. Purdy's top receiver was Christian McCaffrey, with 6 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown, and Jakes Tonges, with 3 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. The first half score was 17-6 Jaguars at halftime, with all 17 of Jacksonville's points coming in the second quarter. The 49ers pulled within 3 after the 8-yard touchdown pass from Purdy to McCaffrey. 2-point conversion was good, making the game 17-14. The Jaguars were able to pull away with a 26-14 lead on a 44-yard field goal from Cam Little and Parker Washington, returning a punt for 51 yards for a touchdown. Purdy found Tonjes for the 21-yard score, cutting into the lead 27-21. And while the 49ers had an opportunity to tie or win the game, the comeback was unsuccessful. The 49ers finished with 289 total yards, 306 passing, 83 rushing, and posted 27 minutes and 29 seconds time of possession. The Jaguars showed fight and flashes of brilliance, which was crucial for Jacksonville, as they have been known as a team that cannot finish games. Jacksonville posted 325 total yards, 174 passing, and 151 rushing. This game was important for both teams, and while the 49ers did come up short, their 3-1 start should have the fan base excited. In a clash between 2 perennial playoff contenders, the Ravens traveled to Arrowhead Stadium to face the high-powered Chiefs. Lamar Jackson, orchestrating Baltimore's offense, had moments of brilliance, finishing 14 of 20 for 147 yards, adding 48 rushing yards, and connecting on a touchdown to Justice Hill. But the Chiefs' defensive front disrupted timing and limited big gains through the air. Patrick Mahomes, true to form, played a near-flawless game. He completed 25 of 37 passes for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns, spreading the ball to Xavier Worthy 5 times for 83 yards, Hollywood Brown 3 times for 38 yards and a touchdown, Travis Kelce 5 times for 48 yards, Tyquan Thornton 1 for a touchdown, Juju Smith-Schuster 4 times and a touchdown, and Isaiah Pacheco 2 times for 13 yards and a touchdown. Kansas City's offensive line protected Mahomes well, giving him the time to dissect Baltimore's secondary and take advantage of coverage mismatches. The Chiefs' rushing game added 118 yards that sustained drives and kept the chains moving. The Chiefs controlled the game and seemed to be in control the entire game, up 20-10 at halftime. In total, Baltimore managed 360 total yards, but 2 turnovers and struggles converting on third down, and 1 of 2 in the red zone, undermined their efforts. In the end, the Chiefs' combination of precision passing, opportunistic defense, and clock management allowed them to win on their home turf. The Ravens showed grit and adaptability but couldn't overcome costly errors and a dominant Mahomes-led offense. The Ravens held the ball for 25 minutes and 15 seconds, while Kansas City controlled it for 34 minutes and 12 seconds. This was a big win for the Chiefs, and what could be a major loss for the Ravens as they fall to just 1-3 on the young season. The Sunday Night Football game took place in Big D, Dallas, at AT&T Stadium, better known as Jerry's World, between the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. In what will be remembered as one of the wildest regular season games in NFL history, the Packers and Cowboys battled to a 40-40 tie, featuring scoring outbursts, lead changes, and a dramatic overtime finish. The beauty and the chaos of this game. From the offense perspective, it was a non-stop showcase of talent. Pinpoint passes, explosive plays, and clutch drives from both Jordan Love and Dak Prescott. From the defense perspective, it almost feels like a spectator sport. Big plays were possible on every drive, and neither side could consistently stop the other. It was this way from the opening kickoff. Neither team yielded an inch. The Packers took an early 7-0 lead on a short touchdown pass from Jordan Love to Romeo Doubs, and though the Cowboys kept responding, Green Bay never let the game slip out of reach. The first half ended with Dallas ahead 16-13 after 2 rapid scoring drives and a pivotal turnover deep in Packers territory. In the second half, the scoring didn't relent. Big plays, running touchdowns, and tough drives kept flipping momentum. With less than a minute left in regulation, the Cowboys scored on a 28-yard touchdown to George Pickens to take a 37-34 lead. But the Packers weren't done. Love drove the offense in Dallas' possession, and their McManus nailed a 53-yard field goal as time expired to send the game into overtime. In overtime, both teams exchanged field goals. Dallas with a 22-yard job by Brandon Aubrey, followed by Green Bay's Brandon McManus, lining up and drilling a 34-yard effort as the clock hit 0. The result? A 40-40 tie. Diggin. Deeper into the game, the Packers amassed 489 total yards, and the Cowboys racked up 436 total yards. The Packers controlled the ball 35 minutes and 33 seconds. The Cowboys 34 minutes and 27 seconds. The Packers rushed the ball for 164 yards. The Cowboys 117 yards. Even the quarterbacks were evenly matched. Jordan Love completed 31 of 43 passes for 337 yards for 3 touchdowns. And Dak Prescott was 31 of 40 for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a rushing touchdown. While this result was not what any fan desired or expected, sometimes a tie is the perfect, almost poetic ending. With 2 iconic franchises, national attention, and stadiums packed with fans, the game became less about who won and more about the spectacle itself. Every touchdown, long completion, and momentum swing added to the drama, and by the time overtime ended, with both teams still deadlocked, it felt almost cinematic. The first of 2 Monday Night Football games, the Miami Dolphins took on the New York Jets. The Dolphins were playing in their home field, Hard Rock Stadium, in front of a prime-time Monday night audience. The Dolphins snapped their early season skid by defeating the Jets in a 27-21 contest that showcased momentum swings, key turnovers, and clutch execution. Miami opened the scoring in methodical fashion as veteran tight end Darren Waller hauled in a touchdown pass to give the Dolphins a 10-0 edge heading into the second quarter. New York's kicker Nick Folk responded with a long 58-yard field goal just before half to make it 10-3. The Jets looked as though they might tie things early in the second half when quarterback Justin Fields converted a daring 4th-and-1 scramble into the end zone, cutting the deficit to 17-14. But Miami regained control through a combination of defensive takeaways and opportunistic offense. Darren Waller collected his second TD of the game to push the lead to 17-3, and the Dolphins' defense forced 3 turnovers for the first time all season. Despite New York's late surge, including a fourth-quarter rally to pull within 6 points, Miami held on. A pair of field goals closed the scoring and sealed their first win of the season. The Jets were hampered by multiple giveaways and failed to convert momentum into sustained drives. Justin Fields showed his dual-threat ability, but the Jets' miscues hurt them. Miami's starter managed the game and capitalized when it counted. The 58-yard field goal by Folk, the 4th-and-1 conversion by Fields, Waller's 2 touchdowns. After the Jets tied the game at 17-14, the Dolphins responded with a scoring drive and forced a turnover on the ensuing possession. That turned the tide. This game, like several others thus far this season, showed dominance in turnovers, and execution in big moments often matter more than raw yardage or possession. A team under pressure with a 0-3 start can reset with a win if it is disciplined in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. For the Jets, time with the ball and flashes of big plays weren't enough. Finishing matters. In this divisional AFC East rivalry context, establishing momentum early and holding on to it is critical. The Dolphins controlled the ball for 30 minutes and 48 seconds. The Jets held it for 29 minutes and 12 seconds. The Jets had 404 total yards, while the Dolphins racked up 300 total yards. Justin Fields was 20 for 27 for 226 yards and 1 touchdown. Tua Tagovailoa was 17 for 25 for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. In the second game of the Monday night doubleheader, the Broncos delivered a statement performance, overwhelming the Bengals 28-3 in a game that never felt competitive after the first quarter. This game was in front of the Broncos' home crowd in Empower Field at Mile High. Cincinnati started with an early field goal, their only score of the night, on a solid opening drive heading into the second quarter. From that point forward, however, the Broncos seized control. Denver's offense executed efficiently. Quarterback Bo Nix posted 326 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, while running back J.K. Dobbins churned out 101 rushing yards. Defensively, Denver smothered the Bengals, held their offense to under 160 total yards, and exploited Cincinnati's penalty issues, 11 penalties for 65 yards, and backups at quarterback. The Broncos' margin of victory was built on control, big plays, pressure, and refusing to let the Bengals back in the game. The total yardage illustrated how one-sided the game was. Broncos 512 yards, Bengals 159 yards. Bo Nix completed 29 of 42 passes, throwing for 326 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, an interception, and even rushing for 1 more. Jake Browning never got it going, completing 14 of 25 passes for 125 passing yards. While he did not turn the ball over, he did not throw a touchdown either. The Broncos nearly doubled the Bengals' time of possession, controlling the clock for 37 minutes and 58 seconds, and the Bengals 22 minutes and 2 seconds. The same was true for the Broncos' rushing attack, piling up 186 yards on 38 attempts for a 4.9 yards per carry, as the Bengals tallied 53 yards on 15 attempts for 3.5 yards per carry. The Bengals' early field goal looked promising, but once Denver responded with a score and the Bengals' drive stalled, the game swung firmly to Denver. Penalties and lack of offensive effectiveness sealed Cincinnati's fate. True domination is about more than scoring. It's about preventing the opponent from even mounting a challenge. Denver achieved both. Further, turnovers, penalties, and an ineffective backup quarterback combo killed any chance of a Bengals upset. For Denver, this was a blueprint win. Control the run, execute through the air, pressure Browning, and dominate the line of scrimmage. For Cincinnati, the loss was a wake-up call. Yardage totals and expectations mean little if your offense can't sustain drives and defense can't make stops. In primetime, margin for error shrinks, and the Broncos kept the margin wide. Week 4's Monday night doubleheader offered 2 very different narratives. One, a gritty divisional battle where the winner did enough and the loser fell short at key moments, Dolphins-Jets. The other, a one-sided rout where one team stamped its authority and the other simply never arrived, Broncos-Bengals. Both underline an old football maxim: you're only as good as your execution in the moments that count. On that note, let's call it a night. Week 4 of the NFL season had everything fans could ask for. Thrilling finishes, breakout performances, and a few eyebrow-raising results that reminded us why football remains the ultimate drama. Let's dig a little deeper. In all, 5 games were decided by 3 points or fewer, making Week 4 one of the most competitive slates so far in 2025. After 4 weeks, power is shifting. The Bills finally showed vulnerability. The Texans, Lions, and Panthers are surging, and in a season where every drive seems to matter, one thing is certain: no lead is safe, and no team can afford to look past its next opponent. At Diggin Deeper, we strive to capture every moment and bring it straight to you, the fans, ensuring that no defining play, no momentum-swinging hit, and no last-second kick goes unnoticed. From all of us here, thank you for joining me for another broadcast of Diggin Deeper into the NFL. I'm Brian Parsons, your humble host, wishing you all the best. Stay safe, enjoy the games ahead, and God bless.